Hello, math wizards! Welcome to a new lesson episode of Just Math PH. So for today's lesson, the topic is solving problems on quadratic equation, where you will be able to solve problems involving quadratic equations and rational algebraic equations. Many problems can be solved using quadratic equation. Since these problems are written in words, it is important that we know how to translate these words into mathematical statements or representation. Now, sum, the word sum, more than, more, longer, plus are actually verbal phrase for the operation of addition, while the decrease, less than, less, subtracted from are verbal phrase for subtraction. Now for multiplied, product are verbal phrase for multiplication, while quotient, divided by are for division. Now for the exponent, we have the square, um, the cubed of, are actually words of exponents. So let's start answering. Number one, the sum of A and B, so that is addition. So basically that is A plus B. Now we have here number two, the key word here is more than. Now 10 more than Y. So what's the difference between if I say 10 more Y? What's the difference between 10 more than Y and 10 more Y? So obviously there is a word here, than. Okay. Now the word than tells us that the order should be in a reverse form. So whatever comes last should be written first when you write its mathematical statement. While if we have here 10 more Y, we follow the order. So 10 more Y, that is in mathematical statement, that is 10 plus Y. We follow the order here. While if we have 10 more than Y, the order should be reversed. So whatever comes last should be written first. So last is Y, so that should be Y plus 10. Okay, so that is because of the word than. So the same with less than. There's a word than there, right? So how about number three? P decreased by 7. So that is P minus 7 because decrease is the keyword for subtraction. 15 less R, so there's no word than, so we follow the order 15 minus R. Now how about number 5? 15 less than R, there's a word than here. So the order here should be reversed. So we write first R, then minus 15. 4 subtracted from M. So take note, subtracted, but there is a word from. So the order should be reversed. So M comes first, then minus 4. The product of A and B, product is for multiplication. So that is AB. AB. We will not write any more dot here or parentheses because um, it's already understood that A and B are being multiplied. Twice P. Twice meaning you have to multiply, that is multiplying 2, right? So that is twice P. So we have to write the number 2 first, 2P. So 2P, so twice P. If it's thrice P, so that is 3P. The quotient of C and D, so quotient is for division, so that is C over D. The square of Y, so square means that's an exponent. and it's an exponent 2. So the square of y, y squared. So notice the difference between twice p and the square of y. So twice here, 2 is not an exponent here, but a coefficient, while the square, 2 here is an exponent. Since we are dealing with word problems, it is important that we follow some order in our solution. So we learned that we have to write a given first. So given falls on representation. So let's represent mathematically what are the given in the problem. Then afterwards, we will figure out for the equation. We have to write it in the standard form. And then after we have written it, then we have to find the roots for that quadratic equation and then make a conclusion out of the roots. What is um, the significance of the roots of these roots in relation to the problem? So that would be the four main parts of our solution. Let's solve the problem below. Example number 1, the length of the rectangular banigmat, so this one, is 5 meters longer than its width. The area of the banigmat is 84 meters squared. Find the dimensions of the banigmat. So when we were asked to find the dimensions, meaning we want to find the length of the sides of the banigmat. So what is the shape of the banigmat? So suppose I did not put here a picture of a banig, but based on the problem here, it is stated here 5 meters longer than its width. One of its side is 5 meters longer than its width. Then it tells us that the shape of the banig is rectangular, right? And the length here is 5 meters longer than its width. So notice now that we don't know what's the length of the width, right? But we are given that the length is 5 meters longer than its width. So that must be the length. So how do we solve this? Now, we have to represent what are the statements here in our problem. So let's represent. So that falls in the representation, right? So width, we do not know. So that's unknown. Be the width, right? It's one of our given. Now for the length, it's stated here that it's 5 meters longer than. Take note of the word than. There's a word than, right? If we will translate that, 5 meters longer than the width. So let's replace it with W because we already written here that W is our width. So longer than is a translation or a verbal translation for plus, right? Or addition. So since there's a word than, W must come first. So W plus 5. So we will not write meter, 5 only. So W plus 5 is our length. W plus 5 is our length. Um, let's write it this way. W plus 5 be the length. Right? So W is our width, W plus 5 is our length. So we are done with the representation. Wait, the area of the banigmat is 84 meters squared. Now, what's the area? Since this one is a rectangle, we know that area of a rectangle is length times the width. So the area of the banig mat is 84 meters squared, meaning our A here is 84 equals the length. What's our length? We will use W plus 5 as our length. And for the W, we already written here W. Let's use the same variable, W. So we have here an equation with one unknown variable, which is W, which is so important for us to solve this. We cannot solve this with many variables or unknown variables here. So this is our quadratic equation, right? If we rewrite it in the standard form, that would be 84 equals distribute, that is W squared plus 5W. And in the standard form, that is W squared plus 5W. So what we will do, we will transfer 84 to the right side. So that is equal 0. Transfer 84 to the right side, it becomes negative 84. Or that is W squared plus 5W minus 84 equals 0. That's the same thing. So this is our equation. So our equation is W squared plus 5W minus 84 equals 0. We are done with our equation. So let's find the roots for our quadratic equation. So W squared plus 5W minus 84 equals 0 is factorable. So we will solve this using Vedic. So let's identify our A, B, and C. So our A is 1, our B is 5, and our C is negative 84. So using Vedic, we will multiply A and C. Again, multiply A and C. So 1 times C, that is negative 84. And then after we're done multiplying, let's find two numbers that when multiplied, it's negative 84. But if we add them, it will be the value of the B. Adding them, it will be 5, and multiplying them, it will be negative 84. So what would it be? The two numbers are 12 and 7. So since our sum is 5, so the bigger number should be 12. So it should be positive while 7 is negative. So 12 times negative 7, that is negative 84. But 12 plus negative 7, that is positive 5. Now, what's the next step? Divide the two numbers by the value of our A, which is 1, 1. So we have 12 and negative 7. And then the last step is to change their sign. Not forget to change signs. So that 12, positive 12 becomes negative 12, and negative 7 becomes positive 7 or 7. These are our roots. For the quadratic equation, W squared plus 5W minus 84 equals 0. So our variable here is W. So based on the roots, the value of W here is either -12 or W can also be +7. But since W represents our width, we cannot have a negative value for our W, so that's not possible. So we will choose W equals 7 to be our width. For our width, W equals 7, and our length is represented by W plus 5. Let's replace W here by 7. So 7 plus 5, that is 12. For our conclusion, so our conclusion is based on our question. So the question was, we have to find the dimensions of the banigmat. So for our conclusion, therefore, the dimensions of the banigmat are 7 meters. So do not forget to write the unit, and 12 meters. Example number 2. A rectangular table has an area of 27 feet squared and a perimeter of 24 feet. What are the dimensions of the table? So it's very important that we know the difference of the area and the perimeter. So we know that that our table is rectangular. So meaning we have the area, which is the product of the length and the width. So this is our length and this is our width. So that's our area. Well, the perimeter is actually the sum of all the sides of our table. Meaning, we know that the opposite sides of our um, rectangular table are congruent. So meaning this one also is W, and the opposite side of this length here is also the L, or the length. So if P is the sum of all the sides, meaning we have to add all of these letters here. So we have L plus L plus W plus W. So perimeter is equivalent. So since we have L plus L, that is 2L, and plus 2W. So perimeter is 2L plus 2W, while area is the product of the length and the width. So we are given with area to be 27 feet squared. So for our representation, we can replace area with 27. So area here is 27. So we can write that as L times W equals 27. And for the perimeter, we are given that it's 24 feet. So we can replace P here, our P here, to be 24. So we can write it as 2L plus 2W is equal to 24. Now, if you notice that area is represented as product, while perimeter is represented as the sum. So it must be related with our topic, the sum and the product of the roots. Now, the perimeter 2L plus 2W equals 24 can be reduced, right? Because 2 here, the factor 2 is common to each term. So we can divide each term by 2. So we have here L plus W equals 12. So notice L plus W is actually the sum of our roots, while L times W is actually the product of the roots, where it's equivalent to 27 and the sum of the roots is equivalent to 12. Remember our previous topic that given the sum and the product of the roots, we can form an equation, right? We can form an equation of the form x squared minus negative b over a times x plus c over a equals 0, where our negative b over a is our sum and c over a is our product. So in other words, in simpler way of writing it, that is x squared minus our sum of the roots x plus c over a as the product of the roots equals 0. So we can do that because we are given with product to be 27 and the sum of the roots to be 12. So our equation must be x squared minus sum is 12x plus the product 27 equals 0, right? Our sum is 12 and our product is 27. So this is our quadratic equation. Since we're done with the equation, let's proceed to finding the roots. Since this equation is factorable, so we can apply Vedic method. Our A is 1, our B is negative 12, and our C is positive 27. So do not forget to include the sign for our B here. Now, the amazing thing of this equation using the sum and the product of the roots, we can directly determine the dimensions of our rectangular table. So solving this one using Vedic, so our A times C is positive 27, and we have to find two numbers that is when multiplied it's 27, but if we add them the result is negative 12, which is our B, right? The negative 12 here. So what are these two numbers? It's negative 9 and negative 3. Since negative 9 times negative 3, that is positive 27. But if we add them, same sign, right? We have to add them and then keep the sign. So negative 9 plus negative 3, that's negative 12. Next, we will divide these two numbers by our A, which is 1. So divided by 1, we have negative 9 and negative 3. And then do not forget to change their signs. So flipping the numbers, flip the numbers or change their signs, we have positive 9 and positive 3. These are our roots. For our conclusion, that is, therefore, the dimensions of the table or the rectangular table are 9 feet, do not forget the unit, and 3 feet. Example 3, the member of the math club agreed to contribute each to have a fund of 240 pesos. If there have been 3 more members, each would contribute 4 less than the original amount. How many members were present in the club? So we are asked how many members are there. So we don't know how many members originally in the club. So for our representation, we have to denote the number of members in the club in a variable. So let M be the number of members in the club. The club. So among these M members, they have to divide equally the amount of 240 pesos among them. So that is 240 divided by M. So this is the amount they have to contribute. Each, if there are M members. M members. Okay, so now we know that if there are more members, there would be more members in the club, they will be contributing less, right? Now here, suppose they have 3 more members in the club. So from the original M members of the club, suppose we have to add these members by 3, right? 3 more M, in translating that, 3 more M, that is 3 plus M. So we will add 3 to the members, no? If we will add, if 3 more members are to be added, or to be added to M. So from 240 divided by M, it will now be 240 divided by 3 plus M. This will be their new contribution. So was their original, and this was their new contribution. This is actually lesser, right? This is lesser compared to this. So this is the amount to be contributed if we have 3 plus M members. So amount contributed each from 3 plus M members, or 3 plus M members of the club. Now, let's go back to the problem. Now, if there had been three more members in the club, so that is 3 plus m, each would contribute 4 less than the original amount. 4 less than the original amount. What was their original amount? What was their original amount contributed? The original amount to be contributed was 240 over m, right? That was 240 over m. This was their original amount to be contributed each. So this one, the from the new amount to be contributed, this one is lesser by 4. It's lesser by 4 than the original amount. In other words, we can have the equation, okay? Let's translate this equation. 4 less than the original amount. So 4 less than the original, there's a word than. So translating that, this 240 over m should be written first. Less than is minus 4. So this one is equivalent to the new amount to be contributed, which is the same with 240 over 3 plus m. Again, this was the new amount to be contributed if we have 3 plus m members, and this one is lesser by 4 compared to 240 over m. This 2 here, okay, this 2 here, 240 over m minus 4 is the same as 240 over 3 plus m. So that would be our equation. So equation. So 240 over m minus 4 is the same as 240 over 3 plus m. So that is our equation. So this equation is in rational form. We have to reduce it into quadratic equation. So we have here the denominators m and 3 plus m. So these denominators here are expressions which are different from each other. They have no common, meaning the LCD will be the product of our denominators m and 3 plus m. So we have to multiply our LCD. So our LCD is m times 3 plus m. We will multiply this to each of the terms here. That is 240 over m minus 4 equals 240 over 3 plus m. Or we could also do cross multiplication. It's up to you. So let's solve it in two ways, cross multiplication or using the LCD, and let's find out which one is easier. So multiplying them by our LCD. So m times 3 plus m multiplied here. So we can also do divide then times. It's okay. So divide here then times. So if we divide it here, m is removed, right? So we are left with 3 plus m and 240. So 240 times 3 plus m. Next, let's times this one to negative 4. So that is negative 4m times 3 plus m equals, so we can also do divide then times, or if you want you can do times and divide. For me, I want to do divide then times. So divide, that's cancelled out. So m times 240, so that is 240 m. So let's distribute that one. So distributing that would become 240 times 3, that is 720, plus 240m. So negative, remember, negative 4m times 3, that is negative 12m. Negative 4m times m, so that is negative 4m squared, equals 240m. So if we transfer 240m beside 240m here, it will become subtraction of the terms. So we can cross that out. So we have here 720 minus 12m minus 4m squared. So we can place negative 4m first to arrange it. Negative 4m squared minus 12m plus 720 equals 0. Okay, now since we can divide each term by negative 4, let's divide each term by negative 4. So we have m squared, since negative 4 divided by negative 4, that is positive 1m squared, plus negative 12 divided by negative 4, so that is 3m, and 720 divided by 4 or negative 4, that is negative 180 equals 0. So this is our quadratic equation in the standard form. So let's try to solve the equation above using cross multiplication, and let's see if which one is easier. So solving that one using cross multiplication. Okay, let's solve it here. That was 240 over m minus 4 equals 240 over 3 plus m. So if you notice on the left side of our equation, this is of a binomial form. So we cannot directly do cross multiplication. We can't do that directly because this is of two terms. We have to make it into single fraction. So what we will do, we will combine these two terms here as a single fraction. So the LCD, we know that the denominator for negative 4 is 1. So our LCD is m for the 2. So m divided by m times 240. So that is 240. M divided by 1, that is m times negative 4. So that is negative 4m. So this is now the combined single fraction for the two terms here, equals 240 over 3 plus m. So doing cross multiplication, we can apply that one now. M times 240, so that becomes 240m. And then 3 plus m, we have to multiply it to 240 minus 4m. So since both are binomials, we have to place it inside a parenthesis. 240 minus 4m. So we will do distributive property. So 240m equals, so distribute 3 to 240, that is 720. 3 times negative 4m, that is negative 12m. And then m times 240, that is positive 240m. Take note of the signs. Positive m times negative 4m, that becomes negative 4m. m squared. Now, um, notice 240m here is the same with 240m here. So if we transfer 240 here, it becomes negative 240, and that would be subtraction, and the result would be 0. So we could directly cancel 240m. So we are left with 0 equals 720 minus 12m minus 4m squared. So arranging it, or we can transfer these terms to the left side of our equation to make it positive. Or you could do division by 4. So why not, let's divide it by 4 first, since each term is divisible by 4. So divide by 4. 0 equals 720 divided by 4, that is 180, minus 12 divided by 4, so that's negative 3m. So negative 4 divided by 4, that is negative m squared. So we can transfer these terms to the left side to make it positive. So to make this term positive here, so negative m squared, if we transfer it here, that becomes positive m squared. Negative 3m, if we transfer it here, it becomes positive 3m. Positive 180, transfer it to the left side, that becomes negative 180 equals 0. So did we have the same quadratic equation? Did we have the same result? So let's compare. Yes, we have the same result, but using different methods. This one is using cross multiplication, while this one is using the concept of LCD. So it's up to you which is convenient for you to use as the method. So we're done with the equation. Our quadratic equation is m squared plus 3m minus 180 equals 0. Let's proceed to finding the roots. So what are the roots? Okay, so this one is factorable, so we can apply Vedic for finding the roots. So our A is 1, our B is 3, and our C is negative 180. Okay, now what would be the next step? So we have to multiply A and 180, so that is negative 180, right? And then we have to find two numbers where if we multiply them, the result is negative 180. But if we add them, the result is 3, our B, which is 3. So the two numbers are 15 and 12. But since it's negative here, so we have to write the negative 12 here, because 15 plus negative 12, that is positive 3. But 15 times negative 12, that is negative 180. So next step is to divide each numbers here by 1. So 15 divided by 1, because our A is 1. And negative 12 divided by 1. So that is 15, and we have negative 12. So do not forget to flip the numbers or change their sign. So this is negative 15 and negative 12 becomes positive 12. So these are our roots. This is the roots for the quadratic equation m squared plus 3m minus 180 equals 0. Now remember that if these are the roots of this quadratic equation, and we know that m represents the number of members in the club, right? So based on these roots, m is negative 15, or M is positive 12. But since M represents number of members in the club, negative 15 is not positive wall. So we will choose M equals 12 to be the number of members in the club. So that will lead us to our conclusion. So to answer the question, how many members are there in the club? Then, therefore, there are 12 members in the club. Okay. So checking, let's check this answer that we have here, 12 members in the club. So let's check it. So remember that they have to contribute 240 among them. So 240 divided by 12. So they will be contributing 20 pesos, right? Now, suppose there would be 3 more members. So if there would be 3 more members, then 3 plus 12, that is 15 members. So how much will they be contributing? So 240 divided by 15, that is equivalent to 16 pesos. So obviously, this one here is lesser by 4 pesos, right? So we got the right answer that there are 12 members originally in the club.